All right. Okay, we are going to start our virtual Budget and Finance Committee meeting, me and Councilmember Quante Toombs. It's sort of surreal to try to conduct a public meeting with a virtual audience in front of an almost empty council chamber. I'll tell you the goal of the meeting and then talk a little bit about safety issues before we get going. So we started these meetings, I think this is the 5th or 6th one we've done, back in late February. Seems like a lifetime ago. And the point of the meetings were to bring the public up to speed on financial issues that the council heard over the last 4 or 5 months about how Metro got to where it is on its finances, both from the Comptroller of the state of Tennessee and from Metro Finance. So that's the goal of the meeting. Before we get into that, though, I want everybody to know that we're being safe about how we're conducting this meeting. I think it took all of 6 human beings to put this together and broadcast it, and hopefully it goes off smoothly. As you can see, Councilmember Toombs and I are keeping a respectful 6 feet away from each other. Please, everybody, follow the mayor's Safer at Home order, and you can learn about that and all of Metro's response to the coronavirus at www.asafenashville.org. Also want to mention briefly how you can help both with the tornado and with the coronavirus. On the tornado, you can go to nashville.gov, and at the top of every page on the website, there's a link to storm response information, and from there you can find out the latest on the response to the tornado. For the coronavirus, the best place to go for help or to see how to help is unitedwaynashville.org, the Corona COVID-19 response page. There's a page, a link to help for individuals. And if you need anything, if you need to be connected to any social services, the information's there. Or you can just call 211, which is a phone number that the United Way operates for the city, and they'll be able to connect you to appropriate social services. I know that while we're going to talk about budget and money things today, it's on everybody's mind that people come first, safety comes first. We're talking about the money stuff because it's still happening in the background, but we want to make sure to focus on safety first. So with that, we're going to get going. I want you all to know at the end of the presentation, we're going to have question and answer session where you can email questions to my Metro email address, which is up on the screen now, bob.mendez@nashville.gov, or you can write a comment on the Metro Nashville Network's Facebook page, which the link is up there. Basically go to Facebook and search for Metro Nashville Network, and hopefully you'll be able to find this broadcast there and write a comment. We've got somebody helping us to gather questions, and when we get to the Q&A section, we'll see how that works. All right, this story begins. We're going to alternate back and forth to tell this story, but this story begins with last summer. The Comptroller for the state of Tennessee sent a letter to Mayor Briley and the Metro Council on August 6th. Hopefully you can read on the screen. This is an excerpt from the letter, and basically it used some accounting language. It basically said that the Comptroller did not approve the Metro budget, and we needed to try again. That's bad. That's unprecedented. It hadn't happened in the history of Metro that the Comptroller wouldn't approve our budget. So that was last August. Councilmember Toombs.
So in November of 2019, Comptroller Justin Wilson came to the council chambers and gave a presentation to the council. And so basically the purpose of his presentation was, one, to tell us that we need to get our house in order and to give us an overview of what the state was looking for in a budget. And if you look at the next slide, there's a summary of what the comptroller needed to see, and the comptroller wanted to see a structurally balanced budget. And what is a structurally balanced budget? Well, that's a budget where your recurring expenses equal your recurring revenues. You can't balance your budget using savings, and as you'll see later in the presentation, the city doesn't have much in the way of savings. And also, you can't balance the budget by selling off assets. And if you recall from last budget season, there were two things that were on the table to be sold. That was privatizing our parking, as well as selling our district energy system. And those were a no-go for the state comptroller's office because, again, well, we can't balance our budget by selling off our assets.
Thanks. And I understand that maybe we weren't streaming live until a couple minutes ago. For anybody who might have seen it, sorry for this snafu, but I'm going to repeat just a couple things real briefly. One, the purpose of this meeting is to talk about how Metro's finances got to where they were about March 1 before the craziness of this month. Two, we're being very safe. We're keeping a safe distance. Councilmember Toombs and I are. We're 6 feet apart. It's taking all of 6 human beings to run this. Anybody who wants information about Metro's response to the coronavirus can check out www.asafenashville.org. And if you want to find out how to help or get help, you can go to unitedwaynashville.org. That's unitedwaynashville.org. Or if you are in need of being connected with social services, food, help of any sort, you can call 211, which is a number operated by the United Way for the city of Nashville. So where we were was the comptroller sent a mean letter to Metro last August saying that he didn't approve our budget, and Councilmember Toombs was just talking about when I think we started going live that the comptroller wanted to see a structurally balanced budget. And so the threat, Councilmember Toombs implied from the comptroller was that if we didn't fix our budget, that the comptroller could take over the city's finances. And he described that if that ever happened, that he would only approve what he called essential services. And maybe you can talk to folks about what that meant to the comptroller.
So looking at what are essential services, so that's your education, emergency management, your courthouse, things like your health department, law enforcement, medical examiner, roads and bridges, solid waste, stormwater management. I think pretty much everyone would agree that those are essential services to run a city.
And then the comptroller also has a list of things that wouldn't be included if he ever had to take over running the city. You can see on the slide here, it's a lot of things that I think a lot of us would consider pretty essential: a 911 system, an airport, mass transit, planning, recreation, a sewer system. I mean, I understand we got this directly from the comptroller, but it's hard. Well, it's pretty stark that we don't want to ever be in this world because I don't think these things are optional to us. Right. The comptroller. I'll introduce the next slide and let Councilmember Toombs talk about it. Comptroller gave us some specific information about the city's budget. And you see these slides that are red like this one. These are copied directly from the comptroller's presentation to us. No changes. This isn't our work. This is the comptroller's work. The ones with a blue format, like the last slide, are ones that we put together. So anytime you see these ones with a red format, you know that came from the comptroller.
So looking at cash balances ending June 30th, 2020. So this is where we are projected to be at the end of the fiscal year 2020. So looking at the general fund, you see about $65 million in cash, which would means that we would have about 21 days worth of cash to pay our bills. General purpose school fund, less than a day of cash to pay bills for the school. Debt service funds, that's what we use to pay our debt. General services debt service fund, about $2.7 million, roughly 5 days worth of cash. School debt service fund, again, less than a day worth of cash. Urban services debt service fund, little less than 6 days worth of cash. So as you can see from this slide, as far as having cash on hand, we're not in a good place as a city.
Now, and I know Councilmember Toom mentioned it, but just to re-emphasize, this was the Comptroller's presentation to us in November. This was the game plan for the city's budget before the events of the last month, which we'll talk more about later. But if the game plan was to end the year with just a few days worth of cash or a few weeks of cash in the general fund. Obviously, that's probably not going to happen now. So the next slide is really a way of presenting the same information except over time. The Comptroller showed us from 2013 to 2020 how much money we had on hand in the major funds for the city. The top line, the blue line called General Fund, is the city's big checking account. And you can see there back in 2015 or I guess 2016, the General Fund had about $140 million. The plan for this year was to have it be closer to 60. And things are more dramatic with the school fund, the red line, and the debt service fund, the black line. Those back in 2013 or so showed about 37 million and about 60 million respectively. And they're both in, the plan was to end this year with each of them around 2 million.
So the next slide is looking at our revenue versus our expenditures. And you may think, you know, how does a city like Nashville, the IT city that has all of this booming development, that's one of the largest or the hottest tourist attractions in the country, how do we get to this point? We're bringing in so much money. Well, this slide tells you how we've gotten to that point. If you look at our revenues have grown almost 27%, but then look at our expenditures, 32%. So our expenditures are outpacing our revenues. Same thing with cash. Cash is down almost 24%. Fund balance is down 16%. So again, this is just showing like what our financial position is as a city. Our expenses have far outpaced our revenues.
So that was the general fund, the city's big checking account. Now let's look at the school fund. The Comptroller gave us the same information here, showing us that between 2013 and 2020, again, revenue went up more slowly than expenses, 24% for revenue, 28% for expenses. How do you do that over an extended period of time? The bottom half of that slide shows, the Comptroller shows, well, we did it by using up cash savings and fund balance, which are down just really remarkably over that time period. This also really brings home why the Comptroller chose this last year to bring this to our attention. He's commented to us that they don't like to get into cities' business if they don't need to, but by the time the plan was to drive our cash balance for the school fund down to a couple $1 million, there really aren't any more years available to live off of savings.
So the next slide is looking at our debt service funds. Again, we've seen an increase in revenues, almost 102%, but look at those expenditures of almost 138%. Our cash has decreased by 91%. That's us spending down our savings. Fund balance, almost 52%. So again, we've been dipping into our savings to pay our bills. We've been robbing Peter to pay Paul, using non-recurring revenue to pay debt that goes back to those two, the privatization of the parking and the sale of the district energy system that was on the table. We've put ourselves in a precarious situation as a city where we don't have enough cash to do what we need to do as a city.
One of the questions we've gotten at doing this presentation before, it looks at this slide and how the percentages are so huge. You know, how does the revenue and the expenses for debt go up by more than 100% during that time period. And one of the things that is worth keeping in mind is back in 2013, the starting point for this data, we were still coming out of the last recession. And to get through the last recession, a large amount of debt was refinanced. So at 2013, debt payments were still reduced from the refinancing that happened during the last recession. And of course, anybody who's ever refinanced a 15-year mortgage to be a 30-year mortgage, you do get a lower payment, but the debt doesn't go away. You still owe the money. And that's what we've had with Metro with the refinancings of a decade or so ago, is we got lower payments around 2011, 12, 13, but the debt didn't go away. And even before we get to what's surely going to be a recession now from the coronavirus, our debt payments were a lot higher because of that refinancing a decade ago. The next slide is one that we added to the deck from when we've given it previously, because it's relevant, more relevant now that we've had the coronavirus problem strike. This slide comes out of information from UBS, a financial services company, and they're quoting information from Moody's, the bond rating people. The top chart it shows a way to measure how much rainy day you have is how much savings you have as a percent of your entire budget. And the fine print at the top says for the 20 biggest cities in America, the average rainy day fund was about 32% of the operating budget. Now, put in terms of Metro, that would mean if we had been the average city and had a 32% rainy day fund, we would have some $700 million set aside. We're, however, at the far left there, where you can see a little Metro seal off to the side there, we're the lowest on this metric with under 5% of a rainy day fund. This really, as we talk about the budget going forward, probably for several years, I mean, the simple fact, folks, is that we hit this horrible coronavirus recession that we're going to have at the absolute worst time in Metro's finances, because going into without a rainy day fund means we just don't have any cushion to lean back on. Next, we'll go back to the Comptroller slide.
So there are 5 ways to balance a budget. 1, you can raise revenue, and 2 of the ways that we get revenue in this city is through our sales tax and our property taxes. We can cut spending. We can borrow, which the Comptroller said that was a no, because we, as you've seen from previous slides, we've already borrowed a lot of money. We can use our reserves. We don't have any reserves, so that's a no. And then accounting methods, basically we can fudge the numbers, cook the books a little bit, but that's highly unethical, and none of us wants to go to jail. So really what we're left with is either raising revenue or cutting expenses, or a combination of the two.
So now we're going to go through the 2 things that aren't X off in some detail: raising revenue and cutting expenses. We're going to start with cutting spending. On this one, one of the things that we hear sometimes in the community are people saying, Metro's bloated, Metro's got too much fat, and cut that before you come talking to me about revenue increases. And so here's some reality about that. And so we're going to start with fiscal 18, and to put you back in time, that would have been the year where Megan Barry started as mayor in the year and Mayor Briley finished the fiscal year. And going back to the last couple months of Mayor Barry's administration, even while she was still in office, the finance department ordered mid-year departmental cuts to make the budget meet end. So going back so far as about December of 2017, the city's finance department at the time knew that there was a budget crunch coming and ordered mid-year savings. The number ended up being about $17.2 million. The next fiscal year, that would have been Mayor Briley's first budget, Again, despite whatever press releases were coming out, it was clear that it was going to be a tight budget year, and built into the budget was about $20 million worth of savings, which were accomplished. And then again, for the current fiscal year, which would have been Mayor Briley's second budget, there's about $19 million and change of cuts built into the current year budget. And before the events of the last month, the city was on track to accomplish those savings. So there have been substantial cuts, and really the only way that that's been able to happen is by having departments leave positions unfilled when they came open. So when you feel out in the community that it takes a while for a police officer to come to an accident, or you have a hard time getting a response from codes, a lot of that is what you're feeling from these departmental cuts, because positions have been left open over the last few years.
So looking at Nashville's property tax rate, and we're looking at this because obviously property taxes is another way that the city brings in revenue. So in 2016, you see the General Services District tax rate was 3.924, and the Urban Services District tax rate was $4.52 roughly. So in 2017, there was a reappraisal of the property values in Davidson County. And so you see our certified tax rate goes down in 2017. And the reasoning for that is because there's a state law that says that we cannot experience a windfall from pre-existing property. So absent a property tax increase by the council, whatever we brought in from property taxes last year is the same amount that we have to bring in this year for the same properties. So everything has to balance out to zero. So you'll see some people's property tax bill may go up, some may stay the same, some may go down, because it all has to equal out to the same as the previous year. And so now you have a property tax rate in General Services District that's $2.75 roughly, and $3.15 in the Urban Services District.
So the Comptroller showed us these 4 years worth of property taxes, and we pulled the lens back a little bit and pulled numbers from the beginning of Metro just to show the property tax rate through the whole history of Metro. You can see that for a period in the mid-'80s, the tax rate was below $4, and then other than that, it's been above $4, sometimes $5 or $6 for the entire history of Metro until the last 3 years. It's hard to find somebody in Metro Finance who's been around since the last time the tax rate was below $4. But what I have heard from the couple of folks who do remember is that the tax rate hit a low of $3.16, I think it was in 1983, and there was an immediate cash crunch for Metro once the tax rate went down to $3.16, immediate. And that tax rate lasted all of 1 year. To the credit of the folks who were running the show back then, they realized that the rate was too low, and it got raised to about this $3.90 number immediately after the 1 year. Those same folks that have been around since then will tell you that the $3.90 number lasted until Mayor Boner took office, and then it got raised to $4.80 because the city had been in a cash crunch for having the rate below $4 for too many years. So that's we're at the lowest tax rate in the history of Metro.
So not only are we at the lowest tax rate in the history of Metro, we're actually the lowest tax rate when we compare Nashville to comparable cities. So if you're looking at Memphis, which has a total tax rate of $8.16, Chattanooga is $5, Knoxville it's $4.58, Clarksville it's a little over $4, Murfreesboro it's $3.51, and then in Nashville it's about $3.16. So looking at comparable cities across the state, we have the lowest tax rate of them all.
And, when the Comptroller was in this room, I think over where Councilmember Toombs is now, one of the questions council members asked in response to this slide was, do we need to raise our tax rate? And the Comptroller was I don't know. I guess I would use the word coy. It's hard to describe exactly. He definitely did not want to tell us what to do. He definitely told us that there needed to be some combination of cutting expenses and raising revenue. But at the same time, he was being crystal clear that we've got a historically low tax rate and a relatively low tax rate compared to our peer cities in the state. So now we've been through what we did to cut expenses, some background about property tax part of revenue, and now we're going to talk a little bit about what Mayor Cooper has done successfully on revenue since taking office.
So if you look at recurring revenues and savings, so there is a pilot, which is a payment in lieu of taxes from Music City Center for $12.6 million. Water Services also has a pilot, and we get $10 million from that. There was a refinancing of a MDHA TIF loan, and so that resulted in $7.2 million. Debt service reimbursements from the Convention and Visitors Corporation, $3.6 million. And program reimbursements, $500,000 from the Sheriff and U.S. Marshal Service. So that resulted in a total revenue of $33.9 million.
And so this slide came straight out of the corrective action plan we gave to the Comptroller to fix the $41 million hole that he said we had, and that was the reason he didn't give us the approval for the budget initially. So Mayor Cooper ran on the idea of raising revenue from downtown before considering any other source of revenue, and I think certainly with the support of the council, he's been pretty successful in getting this new revenue in just a few months since he came into office. The rest of the $41 million hole got filled with cuts from departments, including $5 million of a cut from the Barnes Affordable Housing Fund. So that wraps up our slides, and we're going to open it to questions here in a second. But just to put some framework around, again, what we're doing here today, we struggled with whether we should still make this presentation because while it made a lot of sense at the end of February, beginning of March, as setting the table for where we were going to be in the budget season, world events in Nashville have blown past everything that was going to happen with the budget process. Originally the mayor was going to have his budget proposed on March 31. It's not practical to do that right now. I think it'll be later in April when he proposes a budget. And just to talk a little bit about the last month, the Finance Department has been working with the state to try to figure out how much revenue exactly we're going to be missing from our budget from sales tax, because as everybody knows, people are holding on to cash. A lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of businesses are shut right now, and there's just not as much revenue coming into the city. That's still a work in progress, but I think it's safe to say that it'll be many hundreds of millions of dollars of lost revenue, both in this current fiscal year and the next one. And if you saw any of those slides, you know that we just don't have several $100 million sitting around to fill the hole. So we're gonna have to work with the Comptroller and try to figure out how to make that work. I know there's a full commitment from the mayor, the vice mayor, the council that the government is going to keep providing the services that it needs to provide. The metropolitan government isn't going anywhere. It's going to be a process. 2 weeks ago, nobody knew anything about coronavirus and how it was going to impact finances. Some number of months in the future from now, we'll have it figured out. Each day, each week between then, our goal is to get a little more information. I am urging, what I hope ends up happening is we do pass a budget as we're obligated to under the charter by the end of June. And then if we need to amend it later in the summer, in July or August, or maybe even early September, we can amend the budget so long as we have the amendments done by mid-September, so tax bills can be printed in October. I've committed to the mayor that we need to pass the best budget that we can based on the best information we have in May into the early June. And if we have to come back and amend it, we will. Councilmember Toombs, you want to add anything about these recent events before we start taking questions?
I think that the tornado and the COVID-19 pandemic has really shown how vulnerable we are as a city financially. I don't think that we get anywhere by focusing so much on how we got here. It's how do we move forward. I think that we're very resilient. I think that once all of this stuff is over, that there is a pathway forward. As Councilman Mendez had said, it's going to take some time, but I do believe that we will get there and that we'll be stronger as a city.
All right, so the slide we have up, that hopefully the IT folks show you, is again how you send in questions. I know we've already got a bunch. My email address, somebody's monitoring that account for me, and or write a comment in the Metro Nashville Network Facebook broadcast. We have our friend Catherine, who's is collecting questions. She's going to ask us the questions, and we'll see how this goes. Catherine?
All right, guys, thank you. The first question comes from Sam via an email. He asks, will the proposed budget include an adequate property tax rate adjustment to fund the vital services our city needs, not just to overcome the current crisis, but to also fix the long-term crisis of underfunded public services that we face in recent years as our property tax rate has failed to keep up with property value growth in Nashville?
Sam just went straight to the heart of it. Councilmember Toombs?
Well, my hope is that it will include an adequate property tax increase, because from my perspective as a new council person and as a citizen, just like the viewing audience, we don't have enough money to take care of our essential services. We were caught in a really bad place with back-to-back catastrophic events. I think the writing is on the wall and that there needs to be some type of increase. I don't know what that increase looks like, but we need to be honest with ourselves and really come up with an accurate number that will put us where we need to be as a city so that we can take care of our citizens.
I agree. And what I would add is a lot of us in the council have started digging through resources that are available about how you budget in a recession. The reality is the city is going to have declining revenue. Next year's revenue, this year's revenue is probably going to be less than last year, and it may happen again for next year. And any city, anywhere who's dealing with declining revenue, there's a limited amount of things that you can do about it. In the ideal world, a government would collect seed corn savings during good times and spend it during bad times. So savings is an option for a city during a recession. You can refinance bond debt, like the Dean administration did. You can squeeze employees on pay, like the Briley administration did. You can raise taxes. And once you get past those things, that's really the only tools in the toolkit. And here, because we have no savings, take that off the table. The bond refinancing we're already dealing with having refinanced bonds less than a decade ago. I think we're going to have to look at that pretty hard because it's such a big line item on our budget. And I don't think the math is ever going to work without looking pretty hard at the tax rate, whether it's adequate to get out of both crises. I'm going to go to my comment I've made before, which is it took a good 6, 7, 8 years to get to this spot, and it, with any kind of luck, will only take 3 or 4 or 5, but it's going to not be 1 year to get out of this.
The next question comes from Michael on Facebook. What are the projected revenue losses due to the impacts of the tornado and COVID-19?
I think so the mayor and the finance director have been, with me as chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, have been pretty accommodating in having conversations with me. And I've talked to one or the other of them, sometimes both, every day, probably over the last couple of weeks. And the short answer is we don't know. We don't know. We're going to know. Hopefully we're going to know within a couple of weeks. But the sales tax revenue is collected by the state, and we just get a check from the state. So the city has no visibility into, hey, if you shut down bars, how much sales tax revenue do you lose? If you shut down hotels, what do you lose? We're relying on the state to figure out that data for us. I put in a blog post earlier today. I don't think it's going to be less than $300 million combined. Is the best of the information I've heard on a $2.3 billion budget, and we'll get better information, but that's the best we know today.
The next question comes from India. Can you please clarify on how Bridgestone and other businesses in the downtown area are a separate financial district and their sales tax does not contribute to Nashville's budget?
I'll take that one. So this is complicated, and like a lot of complicated things, it's hard to get it down to a couple sentences. What the assumptions in that question are partially true. There is what's called a, oh gosh, I'm going to forget the name of it right now, the tax zone. Yeah, TDZ, thanks for my couple helpers here. Tourism Development Zone. There's a tourism development zone that covers most of downtown, out West End to about 440, and a portion of the sales tax collected in there goes to pay for debt on the convention center, to build the convention center. And basically all the sales tax revenue that existed for that area before the convention center got built still goes to Metro like it always did. It's also important to note that most of the money that we get from that is the state's share of the sales tax. And so there's a good and a bad to this. On the one hand, we definitely get the sales tax that we got before the thing was built. And then for the new sales tax money, while we are quote unquote losing out on our share of it to go to pay for the convention center, we're also getting a tremendous benefit from having the state share of sales tax going to pay for the convention center too.
The next question comes from Jason. Under the state of emergency, the governor has the ability to suspend laws that hinder what state laws could be suspended to help local government address the crisis. What laws could he suspend that would help you address the COVID-19 crisis?
So one would be the limitations that we have on extending property tax relief. And I'm looking at Catherine, I should be looking at the screen. So one would be the limitation that we have on property tax relief. So we are confined by guidelines that are set by state law as far as the age, the income limit, and any disability or any other criteria for those tax relief programs. And so if there was a suspension of those laws and the city were allowed to basically amend those rules to make some change.
We could raise the income
we could
cutoff.
raise the income, I always advocate for lowering the age because they're currently at 65, but we could capture some folks who are really having some financial difficulties and help them on their property tax bills.
The next question comes from Dana. Many MNPS support staff work 2 to 3 jobs in an effort to keep up with the rising costs in Nashville. Because of the tornado and now with the social distancing restrictions, many of these second and third jobs have been lost or put on hold. As some of the lowest paid employees in metro government, support staff pay needs to be addressed now more than ever. Will it be a priority to address MNPS support staff pay?
I mean, I'm going to break this up into 2 answers. One is the before March 1 and now sort of the new reality. Before March 1, I know Councilmember Toombs and I were lockstep on the idea that for too long, Metro has made ends meet on the budget by squeezing constituents on services and employees on pay. And there needed to be a radical upgrade on the fairness of the compensation system straight across Metro and MNPS, both in terms of what the amount of the salaries were and then also the steps between different levels. Especially in MNPS, there was such a squeeze on employees who are sort of mid-career, maybe 10, 12 years out, where you could go year after year with essentially no raise due to the compressed pay scale. And that absolutely needed attention, was top on our list of things to get done as the chair and co-chair of the Budget and Finance Committee. Post March 1, we're in this scenario where we currently don't know what the sales tax hit is, sales tax revenue hit is. On the upside, Congress is in the middle of passing a giant $2 trillion stimulus package, of which $150 billion is supposed to go to states and cities over $500,000. We don't know what that number is. So I would have to say right now the focus is on preserving as many jobs and compensation as possible, depending on how those numbers come out. But clearly getting a multi-year making things work just on the backs of employees can't be the way we work as a city. Councilman, you got anything to add on that one?
I agree with everything you just said. I think that it's still a goal to prioritize employees and make sure folks are paid what they need to live in this city. But given the current financial situation that we find ourselves in with these 2 catastrophic events, I don't know if that happens immediately. But as Councilman Mendez said earlier, we don't get out of this in a year. So it may be, a 4 or 5 year plan where we get to that point where we are taking care of our employees the way they should be taken care of.
Before we take the next question, if any of you have joined late, you can send questions to my email, bob.mendez@nashville.gov, or you can go to this broadcast on Facebook, which at Facebook you can go to Metro Nashville Network. You should see this broadcast, and right in the comment section, you can stick a comment there. We've got somebody monitoring both of those channels. What's the next question, Catherine?
Has the city of Nashville made any attempts to apply for use of the state's excess unused TANF funds that will soon expire? Is it possible to use those funds for applicable initiatives via the Barnes Fund?
I think Councilmember Toombs might know more about that than I do.
I'm going to take a stab at it. There are particular guidelines that govern the TANF funds, and so it's doubtful that it could be used for the Barnes Fund in particular. I know there was a long list of things that the Department of Human Services gave some time ago about what types of things it could be used for. They actually initially had a plan for how to spend down that money, but that was the legislature kind of balked against that because there wasn't a lot of legislative input. So I don't know if it can be used, honestly, specifically for the Barnes Fund.
Okay, the next question is from John. How do you explain to Metro residents who lost their jobs that a tax increase is necessary?
Yeah, it's a very difficult question. I'll take a little side trip here. I mean, one of the things I do professionally is help small and medium-sized businesses when they run into financial distress for whatever reasons. And as y'all might imagine, my phone has been ringing off the hook. And as challenging as it's been to be a council member through the tornado and now this coronavirus, there's no question that the law practice side of what I'm doing and trying to counsel business owner after business owner who care about their employees, whose employees are their family, who get their livelihood from the businesses, having to look at layoffs. It's terrible. The toll in the job market over the last couple of weeks far surpasses anything I saw in my law practice in the 08, 09, and 10 downturn. What I say is that I try to show people the budget numbers. This city, you saw one of the slides, literally last place of all the biggest cities in America on rainy day fund, and with no money and no substantial money in savings, there just aren't options, and the city is going to have to do a revenue increase to make ends meet. Probably the bond refinancing will have to be examined carefully. And what Councilmember Toombs said about trying to work with the state so we at least have the freedom to increase the amount of breaks we're allowed to give, that would be a benefit. It wouldn't help everybody, but it would be a benefit.
Yeah, I think it is a tough sell to convince someone who's lost their job that a property tax rate increase is necessary. I would reiterate that the city is in a bad place financially, that without an increase in revenue, there are some essential services that we would have to cut back on if provided all. Part of that is, mass transit. I know for my district in particular, we have one of the highest riderships for public transportation. So it's very important that the city be able to provide those services so that the folks in my district and other districts can actually get to work, they can get to the doctor, they can get to their kids' schools, and do the things that they need to do to live their daily lives. Also, we need the revenue so that we can prevent job loss. We want to be able to keep all of our employees to the extent that we can. And so I would say that in order to get out of this, it's going to take the entire city. I do believe that we need to put things in place to help our folks who've suffered. Again, going back to getting some leeway to put more people in the property tax relief program to help those folks who may struggle with a tax increase, but we do have to come together and work together as a city to get out of this.
I have a question from George. Wouldn't it be possible that if we don't raise taxes, that given the shortfall, Metro would have to lay off employees?
So that's basically a math question. If property tax rates weren't raised and we can't wave a refinancing wand to make debt payments go lower, if that's even a good idea to do. If you don't do those things and you lose several $100 million in revenue, then yes, going to the unless somebody's going to strike oil out in the public square out in front of this building, that's probably going to be the only option, which is why it's a terrible choice.
Next question. What is the status of the state's threats to step in and take over Nashville's budget?
Again, in my law practice, I'm used to banks make a lot of threats about taking stuff over, and most times they really don't want to take stuff over. I think the comptroller was serious about that's a power that the comptroller had. I think that's a bad day for the comptroller to have to come write $2.3 billion worth of checks in a year. So I think that would have been a last resort. I don't think there was ever a serious risk of the comptroller doing that. He certainly got our attention, and I don't think there's a serious risk of it at this point either.
All right, the next question is from Russ. Will the recent events cause the Metro Council to rethink tax incentives to have major businesses come to Nashville in the future?
We might have different perspectives on that. What do you think?
Before these recent events, my thinking on tax incentives is that we needed a better system to determine whether or not tax incentives were a good investment for the city. With previous investments in different developments or entities coming to the city, we really don't know if it was good for if those things were good for the city. Like, we don't have any metrics in place to see what's the return on investment. And I think that when we're giving money, the city is just like any other investment. You want to know what your ROI is. What are you going to get back? So I think even going forward, I don't think that you do away with incentives, but you really have to have those metrics in place to determine, is this a good choice for the city? Is this going to help us out in the long run?
I agree with that. This is a thing that we haven't really faced this council term. So, like, Councilmember Toombs and I haven't really had a chance to talk about it, but I very much agree. You know, one of the things I tried hard, a lot of us who were in the last term tried hard on, is to deal with this idea that nowhere in Metro is there a website, a piece of paper, a pamphlet, a Post-it note that says what we're trying to incentivize with economic development incentives, where, how much, and as a result, my personal opinion is the result of not having a policy that's been publicly discussed about how much, where, and what are we trying to incentivize, and how do we measure it, that you end up with this extreme unhappiness that goes through the entire community. My push, and I think the new council term will keep pushing in this direction, is the having no incentives to anybody doesn't make sense, but we should absolutely have a community consensus about what we're trying to incentivize, where, how much, and how to measure it. And I think if we did that over time, people would be a lot happier with incentives.
The next question actually comes from school board member Anna Shepard. She says, thank you to you both for conducting this meeting virtually. And she asks, for the last 2 years, Metro Council has failed by 1 vote to pass a property tax increase. What is the reality that you can get the entire council on board to do what they need to do to balance this dire budget situation?
What she wants? What's the? What was the question?
I think she's asking if you think you have the votes to pass a tax increase.
Well, I mean, the way the budget process works, thank you for the question, Councilmember Shepard, or School Board Member Shepard. The way the process works is the mayor proposes a budget, and then the council reacts. And if we pass an amended budget by June 30th, our budget goes in place. If not, the mayor's goes in place. Historically, setting aside the getting within 1 vote a couple of years in a row of having a dramatically different budget, typically the council has moved the number around just by maybe 1%, the spending. This year, you know, we're in, I mean, an emergency situation. Literally, there's a state of emergency called a healthcare emergency, and we don't know what the mayor's going to propose. I trust the mayor is going to see the same problems and be as realistic as I think the council needs to be. If push comes to shove, I think the council is prepared to act to make sure we have a good budget.
I agree with that. It's still a little too early to know where people are going to fall since we don't have the budget from the mayor yet. I would encourage the viewing audience. Councilman Mendez and I are just 2 people out of 40, so I would encourage you, whatever your opinion is regarding the property tax increase, to engage your district council person, your council folks at large, to help us to do the work. You've heard of what our opinion is, and if you agree, then talk to those other council members.
Yeah, and I would add that if anybody's watching who heard one of these presentations before recent events, we were pretty diligently not taking a position on property tax because, frankly, we didn't have any idea where the mayor was going to end up, and it just wasn't really fair to get out ahead of where the mayor was going to be. At this point, I think we both agree that the math of this scenario is so stark and obvious that if the sales tax loss is anything like what's being projected, there's just not going to be a lot of choice about what to do in the budget.
The next question actually comes from Councilmember Delicia Porterfield. Councilmember Porterfield asks, I'm often asked why we can't get more money from developers. Can you explain to viewers why we can't charge impact fees to developers? Also, can you address people who believe Metro has mismanaged funds or has lots of waste or fluff in the budget?
You want to handle the impact fees?
So Metro can't charge a development impact fee. I know a lot of...
What is an impact fee?
So an impact fee is a fee that developers are charged, and I know in Williamson County they charge an impact fee to developers, and that goes towards their education expenses. But there is a change in state law that prohibits Metro from doing a development impact fee, so that's not even on the table for us.
And then, Catherine, what was the second half of that?
Can you address people who believe Metro has mismanaged funds or else has a lot of waste or fluff in the budget?
Sure. I'm going to go back to this slide about cutting spending. This is, again, going back to the last couple months of the Berry administration. It was known in the finance department, pushing back to the end of, it was December 2017, so that was fiscal 18, FY 18. It's been known within finance that this is coming, and Metro every year has been squeezing out tens of millions of dollars worth of expenses. I mentioned earlier that that's really almost exclusively been by leaving important positions unfilled, and this is where constituents just get squeezed on services. Anybody who's gotten in a non-injury accident on a weekend knows it takes hours for a police officer to show up. It's not that they're not sitting around eating donuts. They're busy and can't make it because they're understaffed. If you try to go through codes, planning, any of the departments, you can tell they're all working real hard, but they just don't have the person power to match our growing city. So I know there's the feeling out there that Metro has got a lot of fat, but I'd love to invite people to visit a Metro department and see how hard everybody's working.
The next question is from Vonda. Does the airport authority have cash reserves that can be used for any other purpose other than airport infrastructure?
I believe the short answer is no. I understand a couple of things. I believe, I'm 95% sure of these things. One, they've done a big bond issuance where for their project that they've got going on to expand the airport, and I understand that money is single purpose, only can be used for the airport construction. So if that work keeps going, which I think it should, because this recession's going to end. The money's already been borrowed. The construction's underway. It should continue. And then beyond that, as part of Mayor Cooper's successful effort to find money, aside from property tax revenue, I know that he's looked at the airport, and I've been told that the federal government has a lot of regulations that really keep cities from using airports as piggy banks, and instead, in order to have uniformity of how air travel works in the U.S., airports can charge to be self-sufficient, but if they build up a surplus, it can't be used as a piggy bank for the city that they sit in.
The next question is from Eli. And I think I might have to synthesize a few Facebook comments here from Eli, but Eli asks, can we find a solution that moves money from areas where we can reasonably expect there is a surplus of capital? Which I believe Eli is asking, could we tax higher income areas?
Oh. Well, on that, state law boxes is in pretty clearly. We're allowed to have a tax rate. And one of the things, I love how creative people are, and I love getting ideas. People can email me whenever they want about ideas about how to find more revenue. The way state law works is we're only allowed to do things that are specifically authorized by state law, and we're not allowed, when it comes to taxing, we're not allowed to vary from what's allowed. We're not allowed to invent a tax. If there's silence in the law, we're not allowed to fill it. And on property taxes, there's hard, locked-in state law that there's a rate that's charged, and every property is going to get charged that rate. The other version of that question that we get sometimes is it's not about income level of the person, it's the value of the property. That, you know, if your property is worth under some threshold, that you get taxed a lower rate, and if you've got a super big hotel property, you get taxed a higher rate, and that also is not allowed under state law.
The next question is also sort of I'm going to synthesize a couple of comments from the same person on Facebook. Ray pointed out that property taxes may be lower here than other parts of the state, but our property values are also higher, so we are still paying more in property taxes than they are. Ray believes it's a false equivalency. Would you guys like to address that?
Sure, I would. I don't know the link for it, but the Chamber of Commerce just released a study publicly a few weeks ago where the Chamber of Commerce's members have been silent about being in favor or against the property tax rate increase the last couple of years. And the Chamber's board decided that they didn't have enough information after watching the last two budget seasons, they decided they were going to hire a third-party expert to look at this. And one of the pages in their report compared the overall tax load between peer cities. So some states have income tax, some focus more on sales tax, some focus more on property taxes. And so in order to judge the overall tax load for peer cities, the Chamber looked at where we stood, and Nashville had by far of the peer cities they looked at the lowest combined overall tax load. And in fact, in order to get us to even get to the next lowest city on overall tax load, you'd have to raise the property tax rate by something like 50% just to get us out of least expensive on overall tax load. So listen, a significant gripe that people ought to have is that the city has kept the property tax rate without being raised for 7 or 8 years, and has only done it once in about 15 years now. And what we ought to do is adjust it every several years. So when you have to keep up with inflation, the cost of a growing city, instead of springing a big increase on people once a decade, you would have periodic changes so people could keep up with it. The reality is, any metric you want to look at, the property tax load in Nashville, the overall tax load is lower than peer cities. So says the Chamber's third-party expert. They're not exactly lefty tax and spend people at the Chamber, so I trust their take on it.
And I think that even if you think it's a false equivalency or we have the lowest tax load or whatever, the fact remains that we have no money as a city and we need to do something about it. And so we need to decide what we're going to do and how we're going to get out of the situation that we find ourselves in.
That's a good point.
What amount of money and via what avenues will be allocated to affordable housing initiatives and resources for Nashvillians?
That's going to have to be a big, fat, we don't know. Honestly, this goes back to the idea of revenue is going to be lower than last year. It's going to be lower than budgeted. We don't even really know right now how long the duration of having to have the tourism industry in town shut down will last. Part of the idea that we talked about before of coming up with a budget in May and June, and then May having to come back and amending it, is we have to get more information than we have now. I know that's unsatisfying, but that's the way it's going to have to be.
The next question comes from Stephanie on Facebook. The metro departments have been understaffed for many years. What has the council done in recent years to push the entire body to address that, and what can we expect to see in the future?
I'll take as far as the past, I'll let Councilmember Toombs talk about the future. The past, I mean, I was here for the last term. I was in the group that fell one vote short of trying to get more funding for the government to get more employees and get people paid better, make sure we had a living wage for everybody. And we didn't get there. Even though I think I was on the right side of the vote, I don't take any pleasure. I mean, we still lost. We didn't get it done, and so over the last couple of years, if you look at actions, we really didn't, as a body, take the actions we needed to take care of our employees. Going forward, Councilmember Toombs, any predictions?
So there are 19 new members of the council. I feel like I've gotten to know most of them pretty well on the campaign trail, and I know that my sentiment from conversations along the campaign trail and since we've been in office is that there is a strong desire to make sure that all of our departments are fully staffed. That's how we provide the essential services to the city, and it's a big strain right now to do even the most basic things that we need to do. And so there is a strong desire to make sure that all of our departments are fully staffed, that they have the resources that they need. However, given the financial situation that we are in, that may not be something we can do in the immediate future. And I don't know that. We haven't seen the mayor's budget. We don't know what numbers we're working with yet. But I do know that in the future, that is part of the plan, to make sure that all of our departments are fully staffed and that they're not straining to provide the services that we need.
And before we take the next question, when we've done these live, it's easier to get the feel of the room, and round about this point, when we've been answering questions for a half hour, at some of our meetings, there'd be a look of depression descending upon the room, and even though it's remote over the airwaves, I sort of feel that, and I want to make sure to say what we've been saying in the live versions, which I think is still true. We know there's a unprecedented global crisis going on and a stopping of the economy that nobody has ever fathomed before. And that's all horrible, just terrible. But on the upside, I would still venture a guess that most cities would swap places with us because we at least can rely on the fact that we've got a diverse economy, diverse citizenry. We have a history of bouncing back. Usually when we have recessions, our recessions here are more shallow and shorter in duration. And if we've got the political will to do what we need to do to fix the budget, then all this is fixable. It's going to be painful, it's going to take a while, but it's all fixable. And usually in front of live audience, we get some smiles at this point, so hopefully that lightened it a little bit. Catherine, do you have any other depressing questions for us?
I don't know if you specifically want depressing ones, but given that our students have experienced so much turmoil due to recent events in our city and our world, it's more important than ever that we provide them with stability and support. With our current situation, how will Metro structure the budget to ensure that every student returns to a certified teacher in the classroom and that students will have access to the social and emotional supports they will need? And that question is from Sarah. You did ask for a depressing one.
Again, that goes back to not knowing the numbers, so we don't know what we're working with. I know one of my priorities is education and making sure that Metro schools have the resources that they need to teach our kids. I'm a MNPS parent. I have 2 school-age children. Next year I'll have 3 school-age children in public schools. So there's a personal incentive for myself that my kids have what they need to get a quality education. So it's a priority to make sure that our education system is strong, but without knowing the numbers, there's no way to know what type of financial commitment we can make to make sure that happens.
I believe you addressed this question in your presentation, but especially for the people who've just tuned in, Jason asks, aren't there a lot of people in Nashville that are paying lower property taxes than they did years ago?
Yeah, Councilmember Toombs talked about this on the slide that was about, I'll find it here. This Comptroller slide that mentioned the reappraisal, you see that in 2017 and the tax rate went down. This can be complicated also, but the basics of it are when property values get reassessed every 4 years, Metro's not allowed to make money off that. So if all the property values in Metro go up by 35%, which is basically what happened in 2017, then Metro's not making 35% more money. Metro is making the same amount of money. The way that happens is the values go up, say 35%, but the property tax rate goes down by a corresponding amount. That's how you see that went from 452 to 316 basically in 2017. That's just the reappraisal happening. To Jason's point, the 35% property value increase is an average. So if you live in a part of town where your property values went up more than 35% during those 4 years, say maybe Cleveland Park, Nations, other places in East Nashville, Wedgwood, Houston, places where there was rapid value growth, then if you were above the average, your property taxes went up. On the other hand, if you were in a more established part of town, which basically covers let's say Vanderbilt straight out to the county line. Most of West Nashville was more established, and so their property values might have gone up maybe 25% during the 4 years. Still impressive to have 25% growth in 4 years, but because that was below the average of 35%, taxes went down. So yeah, there are lots of, roughly speaking, roughly half the residences in town probably had their property tax payment go down in 2017.
The next question is from Anne. What can we do to make sure that the recovery money our city will get because of the tornado and COVID-19, to make sure this money is going to employ Davidson County residents through contractors who pay good wages with good benefits, so that money can stay in our community and help our residents through good jobs?
So the state of Tennessee, I think everybody knows, preempts our laws from time to time. One of the things that we've been preempted on is called local hire. So we're definitely not allowed, Metro is not allowed to make rules about hiring Davidson County residents only. And as far as the fair wages go, again, the state sets the rules about the way contracts work and wages work in the state of Tennessee. Metro has been getting better, has some more room to go, but has been getting better over the last several years in making sure that there's all these factors are considered when hiring happens. And I know the current council feels pretty strongly about trying to double down with watching over that more carefully.
I agree with that.
The next question actually comes from Councilmember Russ Bradford. Russ asks, most intra-departmental leases come with a 10 per year price tag, even though the cost to taxpayers is in the millions. What will Metro do to fix that?
I have to confess that I don't know what Councilmember Bradford is talking about.
He refers to the ICE Center in Bellevue. Does that ring any bells?
Talking about the rental.
I see. So off stage here, Council Director Cooper interpreted that to be about the new ICE Center in Bellevue, where the Sports Authority pays rent to Park System, I believe, for a really low price, $10, I think, is the rent. And I know, I do recall now that Councilmember Bradford had an issue with that. I think the complexity there was that the rent was just one of the financial transactions going on. I know that the hockey team was handling all of the capital investment, so the ice and the machines that make the ice, the Zamboni machines, and all the capital improvements out there are the responsibility of the team. And I think the consensus in the chamber, at least at the time, was that all the financial transactions together were balanced out. Last term we passed some legislation that made it so anytime real estate was being sold or purchased, we have to get a good appraisal. And so I know the fairness of transaction is definitely something we're going to be looking out for.
We have several questions and comments about impact fees. This one from Stephanie, I think, is probably worded the most clearly. What is happening on the state level that they won't let us charge impact fees, and what can we do as a community to get the state to move out of our way?
You want to take a stab at that, Councilmember?
I would say to advocate to your state representative, and your state senators. I don't necessarily know what's going on at the state level other than Nashville gets preempted a lot. And so I think that that's going to take a lot of effort on the part of the residents to go to their state representatives and their state reps, and also the members of the state and local government committee in the House and the Senate, and lobby those folks and say, hey, you know, we're Nashville residents. This is what we want to see. This is what's going on in our city. You know, let's talk about this development impact fee and how we can get it in Nashville. So, you know, it's not just talking to the folks on the city council, it's also going to the next level up and talking to your state reps as well.
I agree with that.
We actually have no more questions at the moment.
All right, so we're technically have another few minutes available. If anybody has a question, you can email or put it on Facebook literally right now. And we're just going to, absent that, we're going to do a little quick closing comment here. We really, I mean, we thought hard about not doing this presentation because a lot of it just feels outdated and incomplete. As much as it was very relevant at the beginning of March, now really all the important questions are the ones we don't know the answers to. How big is the sales tax revenue hit? How long is this going to last, just for our own, the community's health and well-being? But we decided that we wanted to go ahead and do it because it is important to at least set the table of how the city got to where it was on March 1st. As we learn more, certainly the Budget and Finance Committee is going to do its best to keep everybody in the loop. Councilmember Toombs, anything to add?
I think that's part of being transparent, to go to the community and say, we don't know. It's not that we're hiding information. We don't know. We're telling you how we got here, what little we do know as far as current events, and just letting you know, putting it out there so that we can work together as a city to forge forward and come out of this stronger. So I think that having this meeting, even though we weren't sure about it, I think it goes to the transparency piece and just letting you all know where we are, and letting you know that, you know, there isn't any secrets being held from you.
And through that, we got one more question. So Catherine, you can wrap it up with the last question.
Yeah, I think this is a good one to end on. What would the negative economic impact be of not raising taxes, and how would that affect working Nashvillians?
I think, I mean, we'll see where the numbers end up, but if the numbers are anywhere in the vicinity of what the indication is now, essentially a total shutdown of the tourism industry for the last quarter of the year, and hopefully getting it going midsummer, and hopefully back to full speed by the end of the year holidays. If the numbers are anywhere in the vicinity of that, then not raising the tax rate would almost certainly have would cost jobs, probably a lot of jobs. And that is an impact on Nashvillians and quality of life in a couple different ways. One, government services that we really need to take care of go away, and that's not really fathomable. And then the other thing is, Metro is one of the biggest employers in the city. One of the best things we do for affordable housing is to pay good, fair wages to Metro's employees, and anything we do to undercut that is very damaging to the government's ability to provide services and citizens' quality of life.
I agree with everything that you just said. Our issue is that we're not bringing in enough revenue to pay for our expenses. So if you've seen the slides where it's showing that our expenses are going up every year. I mean, just as your cost of living goes up every year, the cost of governing goes up every year. And if our revenue is not keeping up with that, there's no way that we can provide essential services, and that impacts everyone in Nashville.
All right. with that, then I think we'll be done. I want to thank the Metro ITS folks who came in and got this all set up for us. Always consummate professionals, so thank you to them, and thank you to Councilmember Toombs and Catherine for coming to ask questions for us. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.